Wow.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. As you can tell, I'm still at work. I think I said I'd be home by now, but I'm not home because, unfortunately, I'm at work. And, there's a bunch of people running around here over at the Hayti Center. Y'all know on Pod TV that when I'm not at Pod TV and doing other things, I'm over here at Hayti. And we got a bunch of kids running around crying and taking pictures with Santa Claus. I
Who are
think,
you?
huh?
Who are you?
I'm here to tell you.
Tell me who you are and what is a hay tie?
I was going to tell you. And then I was going to tell you what else is going on as well. I'm Mark Lee. I'm one of the producers here at Pod TV and also one of the co-founders of MaxDistro, which is a lovely company that's going to help podcasters and live streamers from around the world and all in that space. And I'm over here with this lovely lady that I've known for a while because we've only known each other for a short while, but it seems like we've known each other forever. And we just have this thing called synergy together and all in that space. And it's just so wonderful hanging out with the beautiful and wonderful NiKole and all in that kind of space. But that's who I am. And, one of the reasons of creating Max Distro is that, there's a lot of things that I have experience in, media being one of them. I think Nick, who's one of the founders of the network, jokes that I've got 100 years of media experience. I'm going like, I'm not 100 years old. Don't want to be 100 years old. Actually, would like to get to be 100, but don't want to be that right now. But definitely don't have 100 years of media experience. But I guess if you add all the years of stuff that I've done in radio, live streaming, a dabble here and there in television and movies, newspapers, event planning, and a number of other things that I've been involved in, that might add up to, actually might add up to 200 years now that I just did that math and everything, and that's actually kind of scary. But that's who I am and everything. But, there's this amazing lady that I know named NiKole, and I want to know more about who she is and what she's about and the making of Max Distro and all of that. I must say, though, one of the things I was going to say before I turn it over to NiKole is the Hayti Center is one of the places that I work at. She asked me that earlier.
No, wait. We're going to come back to hay tie. Hey, y'all. I am NiKole Maxwell, and I want to welcome you to the Marc and NiKole Show. We might change the name later, but right now it's the Marc and NiKole Show. This is the making of Max Distro. Max Distro is your choice for getting seen all up and down the scene. We are helping podcasters, broadcasters, live streamers, and more to find new avenues, new venues, new ventures, and ways to show up and showcase your voice and your presence. My name is NiKole Maxwell. I am the CEO and co-founder with Marc Lee here of Max Distro. And I started Max Distro because I wanted to make sure that people had a voice and people could actualize the idea of decentralized streaming, decentralized podcasting, and being in a space where you get to be as creative as you want to and then put that on as many venues as potentially possible. So I set out with my own show, Meta Mind Shift show, and I set out with that show and some other endeavors like Blackverse to distribute them and to get them into as many different places as I possibly could that were meant to hold the type of media that they were. So podcasts, social audio. And then from there, I was like, wait a minute. Well, what can I do here? And so, through a lot of really cool conversations, Marc Lee is a friend, and we began talking about different things that we could collaborate on. And I reached out to him with some questions because he's kind of a influencer of sorts, and a reluctant influencer is what he is. Just as I am a reluctant influencer, budding in my own way. I'm trying really hard not to be an influencer because I feel like it's a bad word sometimes. But I want to be able to help people get to where they're going. So I am NiKole Maxwell. I'm the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises. I am the founder of the Blackverse Metaverse community. I am the owner of Technical Consulting, the executive producer of the Meta Mind Shift show, and have done a whole lot of events and and great things, including streaming on my own. And so, the combination of us two, we got a lot of different types of experiences to bring to the table, but also a genuine heart to see each other and others excel. So that is kind of what we're all about and what we're doing. But this show is going to be about creation of MaxDistro. So MaxDistro is in its infancy. We are seeking folks who want to have their podcast put out there. They want to get their broadcast put out there. They've got live streams and they want to transition into podcasting, or got a podcast and they want to transition over into video streams or live streaming. We're the source for that. So we want to be the go-to for that. We will do it for you. And we have a variety of different packages lined up to help people succeed. So we said, you know what, as we're coming through and having these conversations, like, let's actually sit down and like film some of this, because it's funny. So this is basically a documentary of our journey. Wherever that journey leads, this is going to capture it. And I think that we have a whole lot of fun, that like people don't realize the synergy behind what we do. And it's kind of cool just to see that all come together. But Mark Lee is an influencer, and he doesn't like to say that, but he is. So once you hit 10,000, you are considered an influencer. I have successfully avoided this number, but he's the man. But
Hold on a second.
So.
Hold on a second. Like
Yes,
you said,
Mark.
this is us being very serious, but also letting people see how much of the synergy we have and our relationship and all in that space. You have used that word. Other people have used that word. You have said, I am a reluctant member of that word and everything. Everybody knows that I am constantly struggling, trying to figure out what I'm going to, be having for, late night snack, early dinner, whatever the heck we're going to call it, and everything. And to me, that does not sound like the making of an influencer, because when I think of influencers, most of the influencers, at least my definitions of influencers, are not probably as struggling and everything. But then again, there's that whole notion of the starving artist, and some of them aren't that starving. So what makes me an influencer again? Because I'm thinking that you have to influence people to be an influencer. And I don't know, even though I've got this title of an Amazon influencer, Pod TV says I'm an influencer. Others say I'm an influencer, but I'm not sure who the heck I'm supposed to be influencing. So please, and if anybody that's watching this, please tell me who I'm influencing, how I'm influencing them, and what makes me an influencer, because I'm still kind of confused by this term, even though here in Durham, some friends of mine did run around and call me the culture minister of Durham. I thought that was a nice little funny joke and everything, because, the culture ministry, you think about like some socialist countries and they have culture ministers, and the culture ministers are in charge of the arts and things of that nature. But I was going like, one, not really a socialist, but I might have some leanings on the left, but not a socialist. And I'm going like, I just found it funny when they called me that. But I was just thinking, and others have told me that I'm the mayor of this, the mayor of that, or the, the voice of this. Like I think my friend Ray calls me the voice of the blues. Others have called me the voice of Hayti, which is where I'm at right now and everything. So
let me ask you about Hayti.
Yes.
So come back. So Hayti, yes. What is Hayti? And tell everybody around the world what Hayti is, because, and I'm going to step away for a minute, but tell everybody around the world what Hayti is and what you just got done having there at Hayti today. Given that, y'all see our background, it's all about Christmas and the holidays, and I cannot wait because, Christmas is, I'm a Christmas baby. That's, I was to be that way. But what is Hayti? What is a Hayti, and where is a Hayti?
Hayti is in Durham, North Carolina. It is in the middle of what some people call historical Black Wall Street. And all in that line, there were several Black Wall Streets around the country. Some people would remember Tulsa. Some people would remember places like Wilmington, North Carolina might have had a Black Wall Street, but is where during Reconstruction and after slavery, there was a birth of business in the African-American community and a really thriving community. Unfortunately, this thing called urban renewal, and in some cases even gentrification, and some people would say we're in the middle of gentrification again, kind of destroyed Hayti. But Hayti, the area that is, But Hey Tide, the Cultural Arts Center, still exists and is still very much a central part of Durham in terms of representing the African American voice here in the community. So we have art exhibits. I'm actually looking at one of the art exhibits as I'm talking to you and others as well. And then, of course, we had some dance classes here earlier today. I think Satos, the African dance group with the kids, was up there earlier. And definitely we had Art Intensive, which is going on every other week. I think the last one is actually next Saturday after next, and for this month, and then they'll start back going till May. But that's kids that are learning all kinds of skills, including creative writing, including dance, including even computer stuff, because there was actually some robots running around here earlier. I had a picture of those, and maybe I'll bring them up into an article or into a space so that I can actually show those pictures if I can find a way to upload them and all in that. But yeah, there were little robots running around that a friend that I introduced you to, Mr. Renee Daughtry, who had those kids doing the robots, and they were running around the building, little small robots and all along those lines. But what you asked me is what is going on now. Whether it's ending. Well, there are two things. One, Kibo was having his sale, and I think that that's pretty much done because he does that on a regular basis, where he sells African women's clothes as well as Shea soap and a number of other things, jewelry, and a number of other things that folks can get. I think there might even be at least a couple of man outfits out there as well, but it's mostly women's outfits that Kibo and his wife Sadia sell down there in that space. And then in the actual building, the converted church, because that's what it used to be, was a church, and it's still having some other conversions, is Black Santa Claus. So we've got a Black Santa Claus, the beard and everything, but Black Santa Claus is in there taking pictures with kids. The kids have been running around eating their candy, crying at Santa, laughing with Santa, and all of that. And as I told you before, I was really expecting to be home by now, but I understand that there is a possibility that somewhere in this building, I don't know where, but somewhere in this building, hopefully not in the building because that would not be good, but somewhere maybe outside of the building is those reindeer, folks like Prancer and Dash and Rudolph and all of those. And be very quiet. Anybody that's listening, be very quiet. I don't want people to know this, but there is a good possibility because I really want to get home because, home is a very wonderful place and everything. I think I'm going to try to kidnap one of those reindeer and see if I can't get home sooner versus later. Of course, that might put me on the naughty list, so maybe I don't need to do that. And
you know what? You can give me your presents because you're not getting any, and so that's what that means. You still one of them reindeer, and I'm telling you, they are going to come for you. And the elves, they're not having it. So you have fun with that. You try really, really hard to make that happen, and you see what happens. You know what? Santa has he has some things in that bag that you don't want to know what's in there.
I don't want to know what's in that bag.
You're not going to want to know what's in that bag because Santa's going to get you, and I'm going to laugh, and I'm be like, I once knew a Mark Lee, and then he got put over Santa Claus's knee. That is what's going to happen to you.
It's not what I want to have happen, but NiKole, you don't know this, but I've had the pleasure of interviewing a variety of people. I've had the pleasure of interviewing actually Scrooge, or at least the person that played Scrooge. But I don't know if you realize this because,
Michael Keaton or who?
No, it's the guy, Ira David Woods, plays Scrooge here locally when we have Scrooge, but he's been doing it for 20, 30 years or whatever.
That was him, right?
Evelyn Rachel Woods is his daughter, and everybody.
Not going down the okay, so we're
but I
was
going to tell you about the interview because I actually had the pleasure of interviewing, and I'm going to see if I can get an interview with him again. But last year on air, we interviewed on the network Black Santa Claus. So Santa Claus even revealed some of the secrets. But there's some of the secrets I got to get. So I need him to come back to be interviewed again because I'm still not sure what's going on when he gets put on the naughty list and all of that. But I did interview him last time, and I might have to see if I can get a re-interview with Santa Claus. So we interviewed Santa Claus. I believe that was Christmas of 2021 because this is 2022. So yes, it was Christmas of last year. We interviewed Santa Claus.
Yeah, I'm wrong. That was not Michael Keaton. I don't know what I was on when I said that. That was Bill Murray. Oops. So totally different people, my bad. As we're thinking about Christmas time, we are thinking about the end of the year. And in the end of the year, you guys, it is time to make changes. And so changes are coming up. And so for a lot of people, changes are coming up in 2023. and they are going to want to be setting up their own podcasts and setting up their own podcasts and doing all sorts of new cool things with their businesses. And I highly recommend that be one of them, right? So if you are an expert, a coach, a consultant, something, and you want to get your word out, people are consuming video like you are right now listening to this video wherever you are, because it's being maximally distributed across 1 billion different networks right now. You are one of those people. And so think about all the other people who are also doing the same thing. And they are out here watching the making of MaxDistro. And so, that's kind of cool. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no.
this is a serious question about making a MaxDistro. This is a serious question about the making a MaxDistro, because you are absolutely correct. It is holiday season. And of course, during the holiday season, people need to be figuring out, because I know I just told you earlier today, I was looking at certain gifts and thinking about what I would do to get those gifts and everything. I wasn't going to do anything wrong to get them. I'm just going to try to figure out how to get the gifts before Christmas comes around. And we have a store, if I'm not incorrect in everything. And, people might want to be thinking about getting, maybe a hoodie for one of their best friends, maybe a cup that they can sit there and look at, and all of that. And we do have some of those products at the MaxDistro store. So if they go to the MaxDistro.store, they can find some amazing things. And even these people that we're talking about that we are reaching out to that are podcasters and live streamers and other folks that we're reaching out to, some of them have, I even hate using these terms because I think it's sometimes overused, but they have, as part of their live stream and their podcast, their unique brands. So that being said, we might be able to even create some shirts for them if they don't have said shirts. I told you earlier today, I was talking to a wine guy and everything. Technically, I guess that would be a liquor guy because it's a liquor, not a wine. But that being said, they could definitely get some products, and definitely that want them to go to the store and buy some stuff now. So that's where I was going. MaxDistro does have a store, and it's that time of the year, so people are probably thinking about gifts, and we have some really cool items. I mean, like they might even want to get like one of those, what was it? I think I saw a thermal cup and something like that, and a couple of other things that I saw that definitely should be on people's Christmas list.
Well, when you think about Christmas, you go back to your business and you're thinking about what the future of your business could mean. And that future is a way for you to think about your business. So in 2023, you're planning, or in 2022, you're planning your 2023. What does that look like for your business? How do you show up? And how do you distinguish yourself? And so, yes, getting a MaxDistro shirt is absolutely going to help you with that because they're cute, first of all. Second of all, it is a way to show that you are part of a movement, because MaxDistro is going to be a movement, and that you are supporting the distribution of podcasters all across this world and the interwebs as we know them. So I have some really cool things to showcase and show. And so I want to do that because we do have a really cool store. We put a lot of work into this and making it fantastic. And so check out MaxDistro, the store. So this is our store. You can find us at maxdistro.store. So it's not .com, it's maxdistro.store. So store, like going shopping. And so you see our little Black Santa. Speaking of Black Santa, he just showed up right here on our webpage. So you're going to scroll down and then you will see some of our different offerings. We have the MaxDistro duffel bag, which I think is just the coolest thing. So if y'all can go hit the gym, or that little overnight bag that you've been needing for so long, put one on that says, "Hey, MaxDistro." We have our t-shirts and our sweatshirts, and then we also have Marc Lee is the host and executive producer of the online dinner party with Marc Lee. And so we have tote bags and little infant garbs. We have our cups and our mugs, how to grow a Black business, because we are Black business owners. We got our little face cloth masks. So, you can represent MaxDistro while being COVID safe. And if you happen to be like me, like right now, I am cooking in my kitchen. I need my very own MaxDistro apron, because why not? They come in a wide variety of colors. We do have the Razorback tanks, y'all. So thinking about going out, it is getting cold. So this is a cool option for a shirt that goes underneath the under of the shirt. You got the front and the back. And they come in a wide variety of different colors, like I was saying, but there is for like the sweatshirt, there's a whole bunch of all of these have a whole bunch of other colors on them. And we have some things that are posted, and there we go. We have the sports bra, which again, I think that's cool. I can't wait because I'm gonna, once we get some sponsors, I'm going to go out here and grab all sorts of stuff for myself, and then some for Marc Lee too. And we're gonna get out here. So like the online dinner party definitely has a really cool t-shirt with his new logo on there as well. Online dinner party, spicy, fun, and smart with Marc Lee.
Yep. That's me. Hey, is there any possibility that at some point, I know we don't have it yet, but I am a fan of it, and it is part of what people are watching on the network now. So, NiKole, because I am such a fan of yours and everything, and we got some items that are not on there that we hope to put on there at some point. So the question I've got to ask you is there at some point in the near future we're going to get one of those cute little teddy bears, and we're going to start having those on the network and the store as well? Because as people are watching and they're looking to their right, they might be seeing this lovely, adorable teddy bear, and I'm thinking that we need to have some teddy bears on the store as well. So is this an item that we might get later? Is some MaxDistro teddy bears?
I don't know about teddy bears themselves. We can try to find some for sure. We'll get those in distribution rotation for 2023 at some point. But that little teddy bear up there is just the cutest thing. We're going to toss him on a t-shirt and throw MaxDistro on it. Make sure that he's green and red or green and brown so that he represents us properly. But yeah, he's just too cute. So if you're looking at the upper right-hand corner of your screen, that little teddy bear dude, that is who we're going to take with us into 2023. I guess we're probably going to make some sort of be our logo, our little mascot for the organization. So this is the making of MaxDistro. And so this is how we do stuff, is we talk about it, because that's what business partners do. So we talk about stuff and then come up with decisions. We just came up with a mascot. So now we've got a cute little teddy bear that is going to distribute sound throughout the entire world. And I don't know, maybe he'll even ride a sleigh. Just because, why not?
He might ride a sleigh, and who knows, he might even get the voices. Because remember, I was a member, and I think I still technically am a member, even though I've not been active lately, with a whole group of folks called the Funky Eye Puppets, and all in that way. So maybe that teddy bear can have a voice just like some of the voices of that particular organization that I was part of and still consider myself a part of, even though I've not been active. So I've been a inactive partner and probably need to get more active in that space as well. But definitely, maybe we can even have some voices of our mascot, since we have made the teddy bear the MaxDistro mascot. And I do think that was a great joint effort and joint decision to have that as our new mascot. So teddy bear, you are now welcomed as the mascot.
Okay, there we go. See, this is the making of MaxDistro. So this is going way more formal than I wanted it to. So we're going to liven things up a little bit. Marc Lee.
Yes.
What did you think? So you guys, in case you didn't notice, this is not our first episode. Actually, this is the first formal episode. We did an episode that wasn't recorded. So I don't know if it's actually technically an episode, but we did an episode.
It's still an episode as far as I'm concerned. And yes, it's part of being here and all that. I kind of made a joke earlier about the reindeer. You shot that joke down and everything, just because I don't think that I would actually get in trouble if I hijacked the reindeer. But that's just me thinking.
You hijacked my conversation. We're going to get you in trouble one more time. So when we had a preliminary show, and it wasn't recorded, but it was the show that was before the Meta Mindshift show when we were on the Macy's Day Parade. So we hung out at the Macy's Day Parade. So, what did you think about that? That was your first virtual foray into at least that space. We got to hang out, and you cruised around, and you saw some virtual art galleries there at the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade in the metaverse. So, what did you think about that?
I loved it. I thoroughly loved it. One of the things that I am still getting acclimated to is maneuvering in the metaverse. So, like I said, I have definitely been in a couple of metaverses now, but usually they're for special events. Like I told you before, I was at that one for New Year's Eve, and I believe that's the one that I did with Bad Bop and all of that. But that being said, I see everybody's over there, doing skateboards and unicycles and all kinds of cool things. And I'm having a hard enough time just walking in the metaverse sometimes, but I'm getting better. So as I get better, then I will learn how to get into those museums, because I actually did not quite get into the museums the way that I was hoping to, and all of that. And then, of course,
That
it
is
was
true.
time to go home to mom's house and Thanksgiving, because it was the day of Thanksgiving. So I did not get to enjoy it as much as I would like. And I need to get back into that just so I don't know how long it was up or if it's still up, but I would love to travel
It's still
around in that space. And I've traveled around in other spaces with you and all in that kind of way. But it's definitely fascinated. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the different, because I think I've told you this before, but the folks that are watching probably don't know this. I have actually an affinity for parades. I definitely have had an affinity more recently because of my own involvement with parades, having been a coordinator of a couple of parades like 10, 15 years ago or something like that. So I love parades, and I've even had some interesting stories of how I have gotten involved in parades and chased down some people so they could be in the parades. I think I was telling NiKole earlier about a time that I ran down some rail cars because I was like traveling with a friend and going like, those rail cars are cool. We need to get them in the parade, because that was when we first brought the Christmas parade back to Durham. And I was working with, at that time, I think it was the Spectacular magazine. I don't think it was the Triangle Tribune. It was one of those two African American papers, and we were the host of that parade. And I just remember traveling with some of my coworkers and seeing those rail cars and going like, hey, wait a minute, those look really cool. Can we go over there and get them? And they literally did a U-turn in the middle of the road, ran the people down, not literally ran them down. That would be wrong, and we'd be in trouble right now. Y'all wouldn't be seeing me. I'd probably be in somebody's jail. But that being said, we actually just ran beside them, and we're like, hey, can we get you into our parade? This will be really hip and really cool, and all in that wonderful space. So that's what we were doing. And it was real fun doing that and having that opportunity to be in that parade. And I think I've done a couple of other parades. Would like to do more. My younger brother actually is in more parades because he is part of a slingshot club, which is kind of like, if you ever watch Batman, I call it the Batmobile because it looks like the Batmobile to me, and all in that space. But there are Polaris slingshots all over the country and Polaris slingshot clubs. And Malik and his friend, I believe it's Arthur, are the co-founders and I think co-presidents of said club, and all in that way. So it's just fun seeing those cars, and definitely that's been part of my parade existence. And I love parades. Some of the parades were, including some of the floats that we were seeing in the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, were repetitive, because I was going like, I think I just saw that balloon. Yes, I'm pretty sure I just saw that one. Oh, I saw
Well, you
it
know what?
again.
It was on a loop, so yes, they were repetitive. But it is something that you're supposed to kind of jump into and not stay in there for a couple hours. So I know that we were in there for a while. But I also know that we talk about, or you talked about Mad Bop. Mad Bop was an experience I think we both went to last year. You were part of creating it, of putting on the event. But I remember I jumped in on Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is social audio. And so there are a lot of social audio platforms out there right now, more than there were last year at this time. So there's Clubhouse, there's Twitter Spaces, there's Breakout, and that one from Spotify, which is called Green Room. And there's a lot of different ones, and people are gravitating to social audio. But you know what? When you have social audio, you also have a podcast. You also have something that is content that can be turned into another form that people can listen to. And so if you need help with that, if you need to understand how to do it or how to really bring things together, we are the people who can help you with that. I have a couple of different clubs on Clubhouse. I have a couple of houses now on Clubhouse. I have done several Twitter spaces, and we also I have also ventured over to plenty of other platforms, including Green Room when it first came out. But I quickly decided that was not going to be something that resonated with me. And I think that that's something that people really need to be aware of, is like, what platform resonates with you? So, Marc, out of all of the different social audio apps that you've been on, what is your favorite one?
A couple of them, and I'm glad you asked that question. But definitely, I was getting ready to mention one of them. As many people know that know anything about me, I am a big fan of LinkedIn. And LinkedIn definitely in the beginning was very much of a business tool, a resume builder, a tool that a lot of folks were using for that space. But now a lot of people are using it for what you just said. They're using it for audio apps. They're using it for the audio aspect of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn now has an audio aspect as well. And they're also using it as a platform to talk about issues, and they're using it to bring thought around different polls that they have and a number of other things. Now, some people aren't exactly thrilled about that because sometimes it clutters what they think is the purpose of LinkedIn. But I'm actually a fan of that because I don't mind the polls, don't mind people asking questions. I don't even mind asking what was had for who had what for breakfast that morning, and some of the other kind of crazy things that you can see on LinkedIn. And I don't want it to get overly crazy, but the ones I've seen so far, I have not seen too much of that. But that is something that I'm a fan of, as I've also been a fan of Clubhouse. And that is a great way to also reach people, because there are podcasting rooms in Clubhouse, but there are also people that are just talking about different issues, different thoughts, different businesses. So definitely I've enjoyed Clubhouse, even though I've heard some friends of mine, it might have even included you, say that Clubhouse is on its way out. Clubhouse is almost dead, and it is all about, somebody told me, I think one you just mentioned with his Twitter space and some other ones that are out there. So I don't know what the future of Clubhouse holds, but as it is right now, I think it's still resonating with a lot of people, and I think it will still be around for a while. But then again, I'm the one that thought that 9 degrees of what was that thing called? Because thinking about old things that are gone, I thought MySpace would be around longer than it was. I thought that 9 degrees of separation, I think that's what the thing was called, would be around longer than it was. Thought Black Planet would be longer than it was. So there have been some social media spaces that I just knew were going to be around, but they have since left. Shucks, I remember one talking about business relationships called Friendsters. I don't know if any of these resonate with you, and if you've heard or remember any of those, but I thought that all of them would be around, and some of them have gone to the graveyards of the past. But hopefully some of the people that were on them are still hoping to do work in that lane and in that space. So MaxDistro can help them revamp some of the careers that they might have had in those spaces that they don't have now. So that is something else that MaxDistro can do, is reach the people that had a voice, lost the voice because of the platform being off, and then they are looking to find their voice again.
Speaking of, first of all, losing your voice. My tagline, if I'm talking about my speaking engagements and things like that, my tagline is "My voice is resting," and a lot of that has to do with there's a whole bunch of stories there that go into it. And kind of how my voice was snatched from me in many different ways, and so that is my tagline. But also, you think about losing your platform. I am a fan of the idea that you cannot just exist in one space, especially not in this internet that we know of today. I am a queen of decentralization when it comes to talking about the metaverse, especially the decentralized metaverse. That is where I live and breathe and want folks to know exists. And so when you're thinking about your future as a coach, a consultant, a podcaster, a vodcaster, someone with a live stream, right now we get hung up on having one space, because if we can get to just that one space, we can get everything we need from that one space. But there is power in decentralization, and decentralization allows us to continue to thrive in the event that a platform goes down. So right now in this Web 2 space is what we call it, traditional spaces, we often see things happen. Like we see, like you mentioned, several different platforms. MySpace is no longer here. And so people had built up their whole entire worlds around MySpace. People had built up their whole entire worlds around Napster and lots of other apps that are out here that don't exist anymore. Over the summer, we've seen things happen that are happening right now in real time. So we saw Facebook and Instagram go down, and they cost people millions of dollars because everything was residing in one single platform, and it woke a whole lot of people up. And so while other people are waking up, if you are not one of those people that woke up, you need to think about that. What do you do if your business can no longer operate because of one single company's change to something like a policy or a procedure, or you get censored, or you get, what do they call it, shadow banned off of one platform? And you don't have the ownership or the backup or the access any longer to go and download and record your things. MaxDistro actually does have a solution for that. And we have what we are calling decentralized podcast storage. So you are able to take those podcasts, your podcasts, and other things and put them either on the blockchain or in a decentralized storage that allows you to not just have one single server where everything is sitting, but it allows you to actually have it encrypted and spread out across hundreds or dozens, depending on where we're doing it, of different servers, or what we call nodes. And that allows you to have what we call redundancy. What that ultimately equates to for you is a way for your podcast to be forever available to you. And so these are low-cost solutions that are changing the game when it comes to availability and flexibility. But not only do we have that, we also have the power of the blockchain, because the blockchain is awesome. The blockchain offers things like immutability and the ability to store ownership and create space and place and time, but also it allows you to have NFTs. And so you can turn your podcast into an NFT with us, and we will let you have that out on the MaxDistro NFT store. And so you can create your own contracts and all sorts of other things. Really cool stuff that allows you to create membership and ownership of your podcast. Or you can just have a really cool storage for you if you like to collect your own memorabilia. So
Question.
what were you going to say, Mark?
Yeah, I had a question because it was just a thought, because I've been talking to I got all these friends in the music business, and some of them are getting very frustrated. We actually met with one of them yesterday and all in that. But part of their frustration is they just want to, create their music, put their music out there, and not get dinged for creating their own music, because unfortunately things like YouTube and Facebook and other places love to ding you even for creating your own music. So if I'm hearing you correctly, and definitely I'm hoping people are listening as well, if they come into this decentralization lane, that won't be as much of an issue, because there won't be these algorithms and bots and other things that get in the way. Because like I said, I just think it's plumb stupid that you can't have control of your own music, because apparently there's some forces out there, maybe it's Darth Vader or whatever, that is taking over and saying that you created the music, but we have the rights to the music. Therefore, we're going to find you for your own music. If that's not the epitome of stupidity, I don't know what is, but that's what goes on in the music world. And I'm thinking that some of this decentralization can actually help folks like that, because I don't know about the rest of the world, but I'm tired of the Darth Vaders having control of a lot of things and monopolies in the world and in that space, because there's a lot of monopolies in a lane that I love, which is radio and television, and in concert venues and a number of others. I can name the bad guys, but we won't name them right now, not on this episode. But there's some bad guys out there and all in that space. But I'm thinking that what we're talking about in decentralization can help these people empower themselves. That's the word I was looking for.
Empower, yeah. So that's the underlying point of MaxDistro, is empowerment. We want people to have platforms that see them for who they are, which is wonderful creators who are putting out really cool stuff into the world. And so yes, NFTs that are minted on the blockchain using like cryptocurrency and actual digital assets and resources. Those are ways that we're seeing people transform the idea of royalties and ownership. And so you are enabled and empowered on the blockchain to take an NFT, which is a digital asset, and transact it. And to define what it means for someone to own a piece of your, lots of time it's art, but your podcast is seen as art too. Your music is seen as art too. So if you are someone who's producing, that production is art and can also be seen as a digital asset, as an NFT. And an NFT, by the way, is a non-fungible token. It is a digital asset. But yeah, so simply put, yes, you can actually have royalties baked into the NFT. You can define what that contract looks like. It's called a smart contract. And you get to dictate what the terms of that are. So if I wanted to create an NFT right now with Marc, or to give to Marc, and it was an NFT of this broadcast, I could go and find all the different parameters of things that I wanted to showcase and show him, and show him, or allow him to use for the NFT, right? So we have this NFT in the broadcast, and I'm going to say, Marc, you can use this NFT. You can view this NFT as many times as you'd like to. You can view this broadcast as many times as you'd like to. Or I can say, Marc, you can view this podcast for 5 minutes. So pick which element of 5 minutes you want to do, and then we're going to go on.
Hold on.
Oh, boy.
I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit confused because this is a Prancer, and Prancer is taking over the body of Marc and everything. And who are you, NiKole, and everything? And why were you letting Marc take over my body and everything? Because you were going to let him go over there and kidnap me. I understand he was going to try to come all the way over there to Reston and all in that way. And you were going to let him do this. I don't know why you were doing this. I just wanted to mind my business. I wanted Santa Claus to get on me. I wanted us to go back to the North Pole. And you were going to let him do this. Why were you going to let him get on me and take me away? I know he wanted to come up there to Reston to visit, but that's not right. Why were you going to let him do that? Like I said, I just wanted to mind my business. I had my reindeer ears on and everything. I was sitting there talking to the other reindeer. We were sitting there having a good old time. And, he told me that you're the one that gave him approval to do it. And I want to know why you did that, because I'm upset because I didn't know that you were going to do this. And I told you that I can't have these kind of things going on in this way. So I want to know why you gave Marc permission to jump on my back, because he's not exactly a light man and anything. So he jumped on my back and all in that space, and you let him get away with this. And I'm still trying to figure out why you did this. You let him do this, and like I said, he's not a light man. He was bad enough with Santa Claus on me, and then you wanted him on me as well. I mean, he is lighter than Santa Claus. I will give him that. He's lighter than Santa Claus, but why did you give him permission to get on my back? I know he wants to come visit you, and I know he really wants to get up there arrested, but dag on it, can't you tell him to get a bus ticket? Good grief.
So we have to strike this from the record. This entire scene has to be stricken from all records that have ever been issued this last 5 minutes. We're going to make sure that it is redacted, 100% removed from all existence. Marc Lee just had a breakdown on camera. This is what I have to deal with, y'all. Like, what the hell? And so I can be equally silly, but I'm not going to do it right now. So I'm going to just let that simmer. I'm not engaging. I'm going to make you enjoy that. What I would say to that poor entity that just entered your body, I would say that we distributed Marc Lee across this entire world. And so he is lighter than Santa Claus right now. And we are appreciating that. And you know what? It could have been a way heavier load, but we took the load off, and we we got him out there, and he has been seen around the world, including the North Pole, because that's where we're heading for Christmas. And so, Mark, are you going to join me in the North Pole?
I will join you in the North Pole. I want to go to
It's
the
good
North
to
Pole.
see you back, by the way.
Are we going to
Welcome
the
back.
Are we going to the North Pole in the metaverse and all along those lines? And I am glad to be back. Something came over, took my
I don't know
body
what that
over, and all
was.
in that
It was
line. I
something.
understand that they revealed things that were not supposed to be revealed, and I apologize if that came out. But I don't know what was going on. I don't know what happened to my body during that time. But that being said, I would love to go to the North Pole with you and all along those lines. But I want to know: are we going to the real North Pole? Because I've always really wanted to go to the North Pole, even though I'm not a big fan of the cold. I went to school in
Can we
Milwaukee.
define that though? Can we break that down? What is real North Pole? Have you ever been to a fake North Pole?
Well, I haven't been to any North Pole, but I'm thinking the real North Pole would be like this is my idea. There is the South Pole, which would be down there to the south of us and everything. The North Pole would be in what some people call Antarctica and Greenland or somewhere in that general area. But there's got to be a North Pole there. And I understand, and this is where I'm very confused because, and I want your understanding of this. And we did bring this up on the non-recorded one or the other previous one and everything.
If
I
are
do
we
want
going to ask an if question here?
no, it's
Because
a
yes,
very if question because it's an important question because it's something that might even impact us as business owners because business owners there's these things called labor unions and there's these things called all of these other folks and everything and I've been trying to figure out because every time that I watch those specials those elves look like they're really busy that those reindeer, and I think one of them may have taken me over because all of a sudden I'm having this sudden urge to want to eat reindeer ice cream or something like that. So that's why I'm thinking that one of them may have taken over and everything because I'm having this sudden urge to want to eat reindeer ice cream, whatever that is, and everything. But that being said, I'm thinking that those folks in the North Pole, whether it's the reindeers or whether it's the elves or even Miss Claus, need a union because I know that they just busted a union here for real in the United States, that whole railroad union and everything. But I have not heard of a elf union. So I know that there's been movies about elves. I know there have been movies about reindeers. Shucks, there's even been a movie about a snowman called Frosty. But I think all of those need a union, and I've yet to see a union organized. So, and as business owners, we need to be concerned about these business laws and all of that. So, one, NiKole, do you think the reindeers need a union? Do the reindeers have a union? And if not, what kind of wages would they be demanding? Do they have to get off? Like maybe they request to be off for 4 months out of the year so they can spend time in Jamaica at the beach and everything. So I'm thinking reindeer, they're in the North Pole, they would want to get away and enjoy some beach time.
so you just went way different than where I was going with the question. But I'm gonna answer your question, and we're coming right back. So the reindeer really aren't that important, and that's all I'm gonna say. They are there. They pull the sleigh, and they're really kind of lazy. They pull that sleigh one night a year, one night. Sometimes they will go to the mall and they'll be present for a minute, but most times that's not even them; it's their statues. So I mean, what are we really talking about here? Do we really want a union for these lazy guys over here? Or are we really going to talk about the elves? Because that's what matters. These elves are dressed terribly and they're little people. They need to be cared for and they need better clothes. So if we're going to create unions, I mean, really, we need to create unions for the fashion that needs to go into developing some better clothing for our elves.
The elves do need better clothing, but the question I've got for the elves, yeah, and I agree, the reindeers are lazy and they're very lazy. But the question I've got about the elves is, every once in a while, because I got those lovely two nephews and everything, I will go to a store. I'll see items there. So, they claim that they make a lot of the toys. But how come every time I go somewhere else, I look on the back of the toys, it says, made in Indonesia, made in China. It never says made in the North Pole. So I'm wondering, why are the elves needing to have this right to work or this kind of benefits and support if they're not actually doing the labor? Because I'm thinking somebody else might be doing the labor because I'm very confused. We say that the elves are making the Christmas toys, but I don't have any proof of this.
I'm not going to touch that. But what I am going to say, I'm going to touch it a little bit, just a little bit. I am going to say that I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know, Mark. Like, you just stumped me. I lost it, everything I was about to say. But I'm going to take it back to my original question because I literally lost it. When you're thinking about maximizing your distribution,
Yes.
and you have a podcast, a vodcast, live stream, whatever, what do the people in Antarctica want to see? And my original question was really this. If a podcast is played in Antarctica, did it really get played if no one is there to hear it?
Oh, the tree argument. If a tree falls in the middle of the forest and nobody is there to hear it, did the tree really fall? The same thing could be said about podcasting, which is why they need MaxDistro. If there are hundreds of people, or again, like you said, if you got your cousin listening and maybe one or two other people listening, but you really want a larger audience and nobody there listening to it, have you really reached your goal? No, you haven't.
Ooh.
That's why you need MaxDistro and all along those lines, because you need to be able to get maximized and all of that. Because I did look at the 200 countries, by the way, and I've seen the 200 countries, 220. I've been on
according
which
to the
list
CIA.
you are going into and everything. And Antarctica is not on that list. So definitely we need to get more reach into Antarctica by all the podcasters that we are serving. But you are absolutely correct that we need to have this relationship going on where people are actually being heard, because that's one of the things that I love. As I told you before, the station that my parents created was called Voices Serving People, and you're not really serving that many people if you're not actually being heard. So that being said, I think that we can definitely find a way to let folks be heard and get a greater amount of hearing and all of that, because I know sometimes when I look at the list, I'm going like, there are 3 people listening. Who are these 3 people? And do I even know these 3 people? But part of what Max Distribution will do will help you get to the point where you're able to brag about having 5,000, 10,000, and multiple sources of places that you can be heard at. It won't be just you kind of like, because right now I'm going to use an analogy. And I don't usually use this analogy because it just came to my head. But when most people were kids, they used to get this thing called a cup. That's like a regular old paper cup.
Mm-hmm.
They would get a friend with the other paper cup, and it would become like a mini walkie-talkie because you'd yell to your friend, "Can you
I
hear
remember
me?"
that. We played telephone.
Exactly. You play telephone.
Mm.
Can you hear me? But it's just the two of y'all hearing each other. So that's the game telephone.
Ooh,
But
Mark,
with
you just
Max
kind of
Distro,
threw
we're
down
going to
some
expand to the
education.
audience of what it used to be, the telephone game. So instead of just 2 people being heard, it can be the string of I'm going now and I'm talking to NiKole. NiKole can be talking to Bobby. Bobby can be talking to Amy. Amy can be talking to Beth. Beth can
And
be
now we
talking.
have a party line, and that's what we used to call it in telecoms. It's a party
Yep.
line.
Then we'll have a party line. And then a bigger party line is what Max Distro can create so that you can be heard. Literally, me and you can be
Distro
heard.
is going to
Ready?
create the sonic ring circuit of party lines for you.
Exactly.
So that's
You
what's
have
going to
got
happen.
it. That you have got it.
Decentralized distribution of your creation, your show, your podcast, your broadcast, your thing. My other question to you, Mark Lee,
Yes.
is it really north if you've never been there?
Is it really north? Well, is it really north if you've never been there? That was getting really deep because, there used to be this thing that we don't like to talk about in America called where people of a certain kind of people would take over and control people of another kind. Oh, wait a minute, that's still going on. But yeah, back then it was called slavery and everything. And we would look for something called the North Star. So if there is no North, then why were we looking for the North Star? So I think North has been a concept for a while. Therefore, there must be a North, just like there must be a South. But I don't know. Maybe there isn't a North. Maybe this is all a figment of our imagination. And maybe North and South were really in. Oh, wait a minute. I hadn't thought about this. Where North and South is possibly invented by 2 of my favorite friends, who I know used to be favorite friends of yours too, because I'm wondering if North and South were actually invented by, could it be Alf and Mork from Alf and Mork and Mindy to the
No,
aliens
it
come
would
up
have
with.
been Mindy, not Mark, because Mindy. No. But I don't know. I don't know how often Mark and Mindy came to visit this conversation, but I'm happy to see them. It's been a while. Definitely happy to entertain that. But I think that like it's interesting, right? So like, is it really north if you've never been there? Is it north, or what if like the south? Like, what if like back in the day when we were defining what north is, we were wrong? And just like this whole square versus round thing when it
Yeah.
comes to the earth, flat versus circular. Is it really a globe, or is it a flat surface? This world, is there a cliff? So like when we were originally defining it, it was flat, right? Not
Well,
we, but them.
no, when we were originally defining it, something that we both love was, I think, deemed as impossible. But then people started to say that people had come there before we went. People had come from there before we went here, and all in that kind of conversation. Because
Well, okay,
there,
but that part aside, it was originally a flat Earth. The Earth is there is an end. It's finite. It just goes boom, right? Like you
yeah,
hit
and
that wall. It's
the
kind of like
planets were all
what's that
together,
movie called? Hmm.
and the planets were all together.
Okay, but now it is round, and so we know that the Earth is round, or at least most of us agree that it is round, right?
We agree that it's around. If we agree that we have sent
Not all of us.
satellites,
Not all of us. Most of us, because there's still those out there that are really pushing this forward. There's a whole movement like a year or two ago. I want to say that was pre-COVID, but it might have been during COVID. Um, well, we're still during COVID, but you know what I mean. Uh,
and
and so there was a whole movement of folks who were trying to push us back to the place where it's flat. But now I forgot my point.
no, that's okay. That's what we do in these meetings. The meetings get us to think about
No,
things about Max Distro, but we also have fun doing the meeting, because that's the other thing about the creation of Max Distro is we have fun, and sometimes the conversations can be very interesting. Where we might even talk about that there are people that literally don't think that Neil Armstrong and others went to space, and that whole flag thing was a Hollywood creation, and that there are no satellites up there doing crazy things and all of that. But then our phones act weird, and then we know that the satellites are real.
okay, so I had to look myself, and so once again, I am right, but it was a 2020 thing. So around March 2020, they were talking about the flat Earth, and they're actually called flat earthers. So
Yes.
they're out there; they do exist. But when we're thinking about that, if you think about the North being the North and the South being the South, that's only because that's what we call it, right?
Hmm.
So I could call it duck if I wanted to, and it would be duck instead of north. But I'm saying, like, what if we got it wrong? Like, what if like east was really north, or what we consider north, and so everything is actually just a little different? Just like with horoscopes, right? Like our astrological signs. They'd up and decided, oh, well, we're just going to add in this other one over here because there should be more, and we're going to space this out a little differently. So now everybody's screwed up. Um, you
So
don't remember
wait a
that?
minute. Wait a minute. Now you're getting me confused. And NiKole likes to do this. And sometimes
I
it's fun in
do.
the conversation. So now I'm trying to figure this out, and all along those lines. So I noted there were 12 signs. By the way, for those of you that are watching that didn't know this, part of the reason that this thing called synergy is going on is because, anytime two water signs get together, it's a beautiful thing. And I'll just leave it at that, because, we got a Cancer and a Pisces hanging out together and all in that line. And that is a wonderful and a beautiful thing in that space and all in that kind of way. But you do raise an interesting question that I had never thought about, because I noted there were 12 signs. They are um, earth, water, fire, and air, the four elements, and all in that space, each have them having their own three signs and all in that space. And I think they revolve around the planets that exist. And I think they're like, let's just say that there are 12 planets. You are correct. They did discover a new planet. Does that mean that we've got to realign the horoscope and we've got to have a 13th sign?
That means you were not paying attention, and they did do that. They realigned some stuff. Now I don't know if the 13th one was added, but I know that the timelines were changed for astrological signs. It affects most people. I want to say Scorpios through the end of the year, so Sagittarius, I want to say, but that all shifted. And so I think that the world has been really crazy ever since they did that. And it absolutely happened. I want to say that was something junk that happened in 2020, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there too. But it definitely did happen. And there might even be a new sign, but I got irritated with the whole thing and let it go.
So wait a minute, but back in the day, we have a very special relationship. I'll just leave it at that. Folks can read into it what they want to and all in that kind of line. But does that mean that if we had met 10 or 15 years ago and then I was to re-meet you now, that I'm going to have to ask you what's your sign again? Because that used to be a popular pickup line and all of that, because that being said, the answer that was 10 or 15 years ago would now be changed, because let's just say that you asked a man asked a young lady, what's your sign? And she says, hey, I'm a Gemini, or hey, I'm a Sagittarius. And then you find them.
I think that all of those stayed relatively stagnant, but the ones that changed were the ones towards the end of the year. Let me go look this up. I'm going to actually consult the Google. I love when people say that, the Google. I'm going to go consult. And the old and new one. So it was 2018, and there is a new sign. So yes. So 2018 is when it changed. And Capricorns are now, so starting at the beginning, Capricorns are January 20th to the 16th of February. Aquarius is February 16th to March 11th. Pisces is March 11th to April 18th. Aries is April 18th to May 13th. Taurus is May 13th to June 21st. Gemini, June 21st to July 21st. Cancers are July 20th through August 10th. Leos, August 10th to September 16th. Virgos, September 16th to the 30th of October. Libras, October 30th to November 23rd. Scorpio, November 23rd to November 29th. The new one, we're in the new one's realm right now. Ophiuchus, whatever, November 29th to December 17th, and then Sagittarius is now December 17th to the January 20th. Now, what this means to me is that, first of all, we got some new human beings rolling around. Like all these people that dramatically got like realigned to this new thing. Like, how do you recategorize a whole group of people like that? Like, it's like, oh, we've got the purple people now.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because according to what you just said, if I heard you right and I heard those dates and everything, that means that for umpteen years, we don't have to put out how many years it is, I have been living my life as a Cancer, treating myself as a Cancer, thinking I have all the Cancer traits and all the Cancer personalities. Still think I have all the Cancer traits and all the Cancer personalities. But according to this new astrological thing, so does it change after the new star was discovered, or did you still stay what you were when you were what you were before? Because by what you just said,
oh my God, you're a Gemini. You changed. Oh my goodness!
And my dad became a Taurus.
You're one of them.
And my dad became a Taurus.
One of them.
Never. Never. I am not going by this side because I don't.
You are a thing now. You're a Gemini, and we already had a whole conversation about Gemini, so I already know. That's funny. I would be mad. I would just be very sad because I have identified as a Pisces, and I told you, like, the one tattoo that I do have is a Pisces symbol. And so for me, like, think about all the people rolling around, they got Cancers on them somewhere, and now they're not. You're Geminis.
Like I said, I've been a Cancer on my
Gemini, Mark Lee. What does that feel like? This is happening real time. What does that feel like to you to be a Gemini? Where's my microphone? What does that feel like, Mark Lee? Tell the audience, what does that feel like?
I refuse to be a Gemini. Both of my parents are Geminis. I am not going to identify as a Gemini when I've been a Cancer all my life. That would be like all of a sudden. That would be like that would be like waking up and being told that there's been whole movies about this, but you know, and I know there are people that have had this happen to them, but that's the rarity, not the norm. It's not like a whole class of folks, but that would be like a whole heap of folks that thought that they were black or brown, waking up and finding out that they're actually white or purple.
Like y'all purple now. What? You're a Gemini. Oh
No,
my God. Oh
no,
my goodness. You're a Gemini,
no
Marquis.
way, no heck, no how. I'm not buying that. I am not falling for that astrological
Gemini.
BS.
Gemini. That means that, like, Mark Lee. So please tell the audience, what does it feel like to be a Gemini?
I don't know because I've never been one a day in my life, and now y'all are
Well,
telling me.
you are today. Like, actually, you've been one for several days of your life. You just didn't know it. It's like, how many years is this? It's like 4 years now. You're going into your 5th year of Geminization.
Nope, I am
5th
not
year
buying
of
that.
Gem. What color is Gemini? Ooh, this is so deep because we just had this conversation. That's why I'm like all interested now. So, like, Gemini gems, Gemini birthstones. What is Gemini birthstone? You are. Ooh, that's not bad. You're a square peridot. Amethysty looking. Oh, you're Gemini. I mean, you're Gemini. You're emerald. And so, yeah, because you're a gem. So this is even weird because it's like, listen, let me read this to you.
Yes.
The birthstone for Gemini's color is emerald, commonly associated with May, and pearl, moonstone for June. It's like Gemini's not even in either one of those anymore. So this was
Well, as
written
we
in
said, they're gonna have to.
2021.
They're gonna have to read. They're gonna have to read. If the change happens, and I'm not buying the change happening, but if the change happens based on them finding, first off, there's a problem with that because there were 12 planets, and the 13th planet isn't really a real planet. It's like a dwarf planet. So there maybe it's a dwarf planet.
I mean, but then they declassified Pluto. See, if they had never messed with Pluto at all, none of this would be happening. But they decided that Pluto wasn't good enough to be a planet anymore, and somebody decided that they were just going to take my Pluto away from all of us. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you mess with planetary alignment. You get Geminis.
I am not being Gemini. I refuse to be Gemini. We're not having that. It's not happening in this lifetime. I don't care what they say.
Because I really identify as a Pisces, and like I know you identify as a Cancer.
I do.
My heart is breaking for you because now you have to go relearn your personalities. You got to go relook up all like the little all the stuff. Oh my goodness, this is so tragic. Everything has changed in just this one moment.
I hate to tell you this. Those that are listening around the world and around the planet and everything else, this is Mark Lee talking in a very serious manner because when I feel a connection and when I feel a commitment and when I feel something is going on, whether it's in the business world or in other aspects of life, no matter what planetary alignments are trying to go on, you cannot break the bond between me and NiKole because we are not having that. We are bonded together. I don't care what the planets say. It's all in that line. So just let folks know that we are connected and aligned. And if they want to deal with that, they can just get over it. But it doesn't matter what the astrological realignment says by some.
You're gonna bring me up an asthma attack. Listen, I was not even talking about any of that. I was talking about your feelings about your Gemini-isness that you are now experiencing for the first time.
And I was addressing that because if you follow the astrological conversation, then that would mean that things that are aligned are not supposed to be aligned, and I know alignment when I see it. So therefore, I'm not going to buy their crazy arguments.
Well, I know that I am unchanged.
Same here.
I am the same me that I was before reading this list that said that things change for other people. But I almost got messed up here. So they did change. They shifted some stuff. And so for me, for Pisces, it went from March 11th to April 18th. And the old one was February 19th to March 20th. So that's, first of all, damn, that's a big jump, right? Like that's pretty huge. Second of all, I will say that they almost got me. Like my birthday is very close, but it also messes up the fact I was a cusp. Like I was in like the crux of the cusp. Like I was on the cusp. So I identified with different things. And so now if I look at life and I look back to like the things that have happened since 2018 and how the world has just felt a little more crazy than it should have been, because of these crazy people messing with our astrological. See, I can't even talk. Our astrological signs.
Yep, they're messing with our astrological signs, and then they mess with other things. They just keep messing with stuff they don't need to be messing with because they're insane.
Sometimes you cannot mess with, but certain things you can mess with, and it messes with a whole entirety of a human being. Like think about people who are like super connected to their signs. Like I'm sort of connected to my sign, but like people who are super, 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 super aligned with their themselves and the sign thing, like the astrology of the thing.
Well, I mean, I think I know what their answer is going to be and everything because they've done it in other things as well. They're probably going to do this old trick that society likes to do. This is what I think they're going to do. And, it's an old trick, but unfortunately, it's a effective trick. And I think they even done it in some other issues as well. See, what I think they're eventually going to do, it comes back to something that we've been watching and we love watching, which is science fiction and things of that nature. They're probably going to send out an edict or some sort of law that basically says that if you were born on this particular month before this particular year that we discovered this, you are allowed to stay that sign and everything else. But if you were born after that particular date, then you must go by this new alignment. That's what I think they're going to do. So like I said, if you were born, you said that.
That's thinking, wait, hold on. So that's thinking like this just happened today. Guess what? This has been this way since 2018. So they're not changing it. No, it already happened. It's too late. It's gonna just be because now if they were to go back and say, oh well, by the way, it's all the people who've been born since this changed that are also affected. So like they're affected differently. So now you got to make stipulations and
no, and that's what I think they're gonna do. I think it's gonna be
like,
no, I think it's gonna be if you were born before 2018.
You've been a Gemini for 4 years.
No, but I'm just saying the new law is going to be if you born before 2018, you get to stay
so
wherever
when I asked you, Markley, what's your sign? You was like, I'm a Cancer. You was wrong. You was wrong. You're not a Cancer. You don't even know. Think about how many people don't know that though. Like that was my thing when this first happened because I'm like, well, okay, it's in the paper, so I guess obviously that means somebody know. But think about that. Think about if you had a message and that message needed to get to as many people as possible. And you had relied on one single source, which was a newspaper, to get your message out. That is why you need MaxDistro.
Well, you definitely need MaxDistro for that reason. But I want you to say, and it can be something else you said. How do most people get, and it's something else we're talking about with MaxDistro and getting your word out and everything. We're talking about horoscopes. How do most people get their horoscope?
On the app from the phone.
And out on the app on the phone and in this thing that people don't use anymore, but people will use it because they want to read that one section of it and everything.
Don't use that anymore.
No, people
don't use that anymore.
Yeah, people still read cartoons, and if they still read comics, then they still look at the horoscope because the horoscope
people
is
read animated manga. No, they do not.
People still read the horoscope in the comics because they're right next to each other, so you can't say they don't do it. So people still read comics, and I agree that a lot of people read it in the apps on the phone, but there's still a lot of people that read it in the newspaper. But whether it's in the newspaper or the apps, how many signs do they have in there?
Ooh, and did they make them pay for the extra space?
Because there is nothing in that app that I've seen, the horoscope app, says anything about a 13th sign.
Look, hold on, because I don't have this on my phone anymore. I actually took it off, but let's look. Let's find us a horoscope app on Google Play. I'm looking right now. Horoscope. My phone's gonna die here in a minute, but we're gonna find it. Daily horoscope with ads. Let's do that. I'm gonna download 2 of them. So daily horoscope and then the horoscope home daily. So let's see the first one.
How many signs are on there? Probably 12.
Horoscope for today. Give me a minute. This is going to take a minute.
Well,
So,
while that's taking a minute, you know that this raises another problem as well. It's a mathematical problem. You ready for it?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, part of the other appeal of the horoscopes is the fact that it is easily categorizable. You heard me earlier say there. You heard me earlier say there are 4 elements, and each element has 3. That's still 12 that I'm seeing. I don't see no 13. That's 12.
That's 12, Mr. Markley. You were absolutely right.
So they're still dealing with the old 12 and all of that, but and within that 12 is um 4 elements, 3 signs per element. Where does the 13th element where does the 13th sign fall? And do we have to get up to 15 signs in order to have the fair distribution? Because if we're going to have, well, actually, it would be more than that. It'd be more like 16 because it's 4 elements, and if we're going to go by the elements, we got to get 3 more signs.
Okay, so this one definitely is still using the old system. Because I did today as my birthday, and it made me a Sagittarius, so that's wrong. But let's look at the other one, horoscope home, and this one also is still using 12 people, so 12 signs. So
they're not trying to disrupt 4 times 3.
I mean, really, and then why would you give us a number like 13? Like, come on.
13
I feel like that was just. And then the name of the new one. The new one seems like the name is just, it's something I'm not resonating with.
I'm not resonating with the name either. And then, like, do the other 3 have to have jacked up names like that too? Because if we got 4 elements, then you got to come up with 3 more signs in order to have balance.
There is no balance because there's 13.
Exactly. That's my point. If we're going, because there's balance when it was 12. 3. So if we're going to get balance, we got to get 3 more sides.
There is no balance, and that is why the world has been crazy. See, I told you.
So Opitius is what messed up the whole world. If it had been for Opitius, we would have had COVID. We would have had any of this madness since 2018. It's all because of Opitius.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happened. It wasn't any of the other stuff that y'all thought. It was because they screwed up our horoscopes and everybody went crazy. So that is what happened. And they're still that way.
And it's still that way. But you know, I'm about to mess up again, but this time I think it'll be a good mess up. Honey Pie, definitely, I think that folks have to understand that this is what goes on in these meetings and all along those lines. And that being said, if folks don't want to deal with that and all in that space, I think that we've got to have that understanding that it's a crazy world, and we're making better than crazy with the making of MaxDistro, because we're trying to help make the world a better place and all of that. And by the way, they will, they are actually currently staying over there around the corner. So I'm on my way home to you and everything. So keep the lights on. I'll be over there shortly and all in that line. So keep the lights on.
Come on home.
Because I think people have left. So it's about time for me to come. It's about time for me to come on home and all in that space. So everybody knows where I'm at here in this area. So it's time for me to come on home
and start walking right now.
Well, like she said, it's not that long. Even by walking.
That was a good conversation though. Think about like the distribution of walking.
Yeah.
Walking itself is a distribution, right? It's a distribution of energy. It's a distribution of thought. It is a distribution of mileage.
Yeah.
And you get to walk it. And so, when you think about distance and closing the distance, like we're in such a cool space right now where you can maximize your distribution with MaxDistro.
With MaxDistro, and you can get some great services. So we would love to have. Matter of fact, those who are watching, because I see that there are a couple of people that have been watching, some that are in the Twitch lane, some that are in the MaxDistro lane, and all in that space.
Oh,
And so if y'all are
oh,
watching and y'all have been
no.
paying attention and all in that space, or if you're telling friends of yours about what's going on and you're interested in what's happening, we would love to hear from you and everything. I know that both me and NiKole are always available for a consulting call. It won't be as much fun as this is because we have a different kind of relationship, but
You know what?
definitely
If you want it to be this fun, we can make a fun conversation. But you know what? I think that it's important that we see the vision for Max Distro and Mark Lee. Just wait, watch what you're gonna see.
okay.
Oh yeah, ways to connect with us, Max Distro. We're everywhere you want to be. We're just like Visa, but better. And you can connect with us literally everywhere. So we are getting out there. We are making sure you are getting out there. We have over 45 destinations for your production, whether that is a stream, whether that is a webinar, whether that is a podcast. We can get you where you need to go, and we can do it for you. Like that's the big thing. Lots of people just ain't got time. Like people are like, I'm doing this podcast and I'm so busy. I'm a doctor. I'm out here and I'm a musician. I'm on the road. I don't have time to sit up here and fill out all these forms and like do all this stuff. Let us do it.
Yep.
That's what we're
Plus
here
all
for.
those coaches, because everybody and their mother seems to be a coach. We got the business coaches, we got life coaches, we got energy
Yeah.
coaches, we got all kinds of coaches. So no matter what kind of coach you are, there's a good possibility that you might need some podcasting coaches as well. Because one of the things that all the coaches that have ever been out there have told me was that every coach needs another coach or needs some coaches behind them. So like NiKole just said, so if you're not an expert at something, then you go to folks that have that expertise. So many of the folks that are in the live streaming and podcasting world are very good at what they are experts at. They are definitely subject matters in whatever their subject is, but they're not always the best in knowing how to get the podcast the kind of distribution it needs, or even into spaces that they might not even know exist. Because as I've said and learned, you might even want to consider getting into the metaverse as well. So there's all kinds of ways that we can help you in that way. So definitely.
And we're going to hire Mark Lee as our personal sales assistant because Mark Lee's been selling my metaverse services, y'all. If you are interested in connecting with me, please do so. You can reach out and touch me at metamindshift.com. And we are definitely looking forward to connecting with you at MaxDistro.live. Why is it .live? Because we are taking you live. So think about that. Get your distribution live, Max Distro Worldwide. And we're excited. And Mark Lee, if people want to get in touch with you, I know that they can reach you at producer@maxdistro.live, but where can they get in touch with you for consulting with Lee Entertainment?
They can get in touch with me for Lee Entertainment at bluesradio@gmail.com. And of course, they can also find some of the amazing shows that are produced here on this network, podtv.tv, by going to that particular website. And you'll be seeing all kinds of shows, including, I think, 2 of them on tomorrow afternoon. There might even be 3 or 4, but there are 2 that I'm guaranteed to be producing, which is one about bullying, because yes, bullying is a real problem. So that'll be taking place at 6 o'clock on tomorrow. And of course, those Latin ladies will be telling you what's going on in the Latin culture on tomorrow at 4 o'clock. But outside of that, they can oftentimes find me doing events as well. The Road to the Apollo, as far as I know, is done being on the road for this year, but we're hoping to be on some roads in 2023. So who knows, we might be appearing at a road near you or at a venue near you in the not too distant future. So there's all kinds of things that I'm involved in, including some event planning and some festivals. There are not that many cold weather festivals, so they might not be seeing me out and about in those, but they might see me out and about at some other places. And if they want to do a cold weather festival, and they can make sure that I have a coat when I come there and everything, I might at least consider it in that space. But I think that that's going to be one of the perks that they have to provide is someplace that's got a lot of warmth and a lot of warm protection if I'm going into a winter environment. And if they want to make a perk of a coat, I won't argue with them. But that can be a perk that they can put in the contract.
Well, you should put your perk in all your contracts. Make sure that you got your perks in the contracts and put them in your smart contracts too, because we're talking about NFTs, you were talking about the blockchain, you were talking about Web3, and you were talking about a future in the metaverse. And if you have that cold weather conference, that festival of Christmas lights, and you want Mark Lee to attend, just have it in the metaverse. Call me up and we will get him wherever he needs to be, as long as it is virtually. So reach out to me. We can make that happen. But y'all, we have a lot of services. We have a lot of really cool things. We are happy that you've tapped in to watch the making of the Meta Mind Shift. Or no, that's not what it is.
The MaxDistro.
I'm looking at stuff because yes, I am also the hostess of the Meta Mind Shift show and executive producer of that. But we have a lot of different shows. So not only is this seen on Pod TV, this is seen and distributed in all of the locations that I mentioned. So if you happen to not be watching on Pod TV, thank you. And if you happen to be watching on Pod TV, then you know where Mark Lee was talking about. You can visit them at podtv.tv and watch live, or hit us up on Roku or LinkedIn or YouTube or that other place that starts with an F or an M, depending on what time of year it is. iHeartRadio, Audible. Man, it feels good to be on Audible. Like, I really love the fact that like my show is on Audible, and I make that happen, and it's awesome. We also have really great opportunities to extend into other networks. So for some folks are, here at Pod TV, we definitely know that Mark Lee is an executive producer over at Pod TV, but we have some other networks that we're involved in, and so our distribution is going to be decentralized and going everywhere. We also have a lot of so if you own a network, hit us up, MaxDistro, because we got a whole lineup of live streamers and podcasters who are looking to find additional venues for their creations. And that's what is important to me, is that they are creators. They are seen as creators, and they are known as creators, and they are getting the exposure that they need as creators. So, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No doubt about that. And I was just thinking that there are all kinds of networks that are out there. I know that there's the Wellness Network and a couple of other networks that we are hoping to be having conversations with. So hopefully they can get out there, and it doesn't just have to be the one that we are currently on, but others as well. And of course, there are people that have their internal networks, so they're not formalized networks. So that's basically what I consider Voice Your Vibe, and some of those people that are affiliated with that, which is Brian Showman and Nancy and Tim Sohn and some of that gang. As a matter of fact, when I get home, I'm going to check and see in the mailbox, and of course I'll let Miss NiKole know, because I'll be heading in that same general direction anyway, whether we got it or not. But Tim has been promising me a screaming goat, because he went into some store and found a screaming goat that they play with all the time, because yes, it's literally one of those toy goats, and yes, it does scream. It can be a nuisance. I'll probably drive NiKole crazy with it, because I'll probably be squeezing the goat, going like, hey, here, don't you just love this screaming goat? And then she's gonna be like, Mark, put that goat away, put it someplace else. Don't be having that screaming goat scream at me all day.
Give up the goat, Mark. Give up the goat. Give up the goat. All right, y'all. We're gonna head out because it's been an extremely interesting little day here, and we got about 2 minutes. I'm gonna play my own commercial as we head out, and look forward to seeing you guys next week on the MaxDistro show with Mark and NiKole. Hey, I think I just changed the name.
I have no problem with that. I think that it could be NiKole and Mark and NiKole, whichever way you want to go.
Mark and no. I changed the whole thing. I changed it. I said the MaxDistro show with Mark and NiKole.
Okay,
instead
I like
of Mark
that.
and NiKole, the making of MaxDistro. We'll figure it out, but we're not married to it yet. All right, y'all. Here we go. Heading out with a little word from our sponsors. Thank you.